Hey Gearheads, and welcome to GT Garage Talk, a discussion about all things automotive. I am your host, Cory, and today I've got something very special to you. First of all, there's a video component to this episode, so if you're watching this on YouTube, let me know what you think down in the comments below. Should I add a video element to my podcast here on the main channel? Let me know absolutely in the comments. If you're listening audio only, you're definitely going to want to go check out the video feed of this one because I've got some fun excerpts smushed, inserted, put in. There we go. Yes, put in to the video content of this episode. There is so much fun that you will want to experience and see for yourself because this episode was an on-site interview. And not just any on-site interview. I actually found the good fortune to find myself in Johnson Valley, California, at the home of the King of the Hammers founders, residence just off of the BLM land there in Johnson Valley, California. Yes, I am talking about Dave Cole, the legendary co-founder of King of the Hammers, the CEO of Hammer King Productions. I was in his house, at his property, staying in an RV in the middle of the desert and getting to experience Ultra 4 racers of varying degrees, V8 powered, electric powered, getting to ride in the backseat of his Ford Centurion. So much fun stuff coming forward to you in this episode, including just the history and experience of the event itself, how I kind of feel like he is a modern day or a real life Dominic Toretto, because this whole thing, all of it, King of the Hammers, started from wanting to spend time with family, with his son, and it just ballooned and blossomed from there. I kid you not, the humility of Dave Cole blew me away from my time out there, not only in my interview with him, but just experiencing time out there with other media members, seeing how he went about his day, went about his life out there, and then just to hear the story of how King of the Hammers started, how he views it today still as a hobby with, as he puts it, 80,000 members out there, spectators, viewers out there each and every January and February, experiencing the King of the Hammers race events, because there are multiple, and an event that has an economic impact in 2023 of $34.1 million. Yes, a $34.1 million economic impact is a hobby for Dave Cole. And with all of that aside, let's just jump right into it. I got to sit with him in his boardroom, in his house / garage / compound out in Johnson Valley, California. Dave Cole, been doing King of the Hammers. This is 18 years now?
Coming in 18 years or so.
So where did you come from beforehand? What led you to here? Like, how do you go into just creating an epic off-road race event? Like, where does that come from?
Well, it wasn't even necessarily trying to make an epic off-road race. It was specifically this place. I liked this place. Yeah. I moved here to California in 99 from the East Coast. Was always into off-roading, and I don't really know why. And I ended up, and it's hard to be off-road in Jersey.
Yeah.
And I ended up in California by choice to come out with GE Capital, working mortgage business type stuff. And I found the Hammers and I just loved it here. And so the next, the universe conspiring thing, I ended up getting divorced from my wife, and my son was 2 years old, and I didn't want to be the dad that was playing video games every weekend with my kid. So we got a Toyota 4Runner so we could go on the trail every weekend. And we just started wheeling around like Arrowhead and Big Bear and everywhere in California I could wheel. And then right around 2000, or in 99, is when professional rock crawling, or not even really professional, competition rock crawling started.
Yeah.
And by 2001, I got married out here. 2003, I was spotting, and I was into rock crawling a lot. Built my first car in 2005. Won a world championship in 2006. and
We're at Baja.
no, in Vegas,
All right.
we rock. It was the World Extreme Rock Crawling Championships. They still compete, and they had a World Championship, and um, it. I think I know I got $750. And I got my name misspelled in a magazine, and it's like, how does this is
How do you misspell David Cole? Like,
Kohl?
okay.
Yeah, it's the only time.
Yeah.
It's just a funny point. It was more like it. There's we need to find some way to make this more bigger.
Yeah.
Rock crawling, and it's still probably my most favorite thing to do. Still, I love traditional technical rock crawling. My super passion, but it's not. It's like watching golf. It's not terribly. It's cool to watch a championship, but it's not terribly fun. Everyone. So we need more excitement. Have been doing cleanups like jamborees and desert cleanups here already. So I knew how to get a BLM permit, and know I needed to do that, and so started King of the Hammer to see if it would work. First race was 12 people.
Yeah.
And then it was 50, and then it was 100. The third year, 100 drivers, and then that's when it just started growing from there. Really.
Is there any like one thing you can attribute the explosion to? Was it getting a certain driver out that had tons of following, or was it just...
No, we were all. I mean, certainly. I mean, Jason Shearer's just here, right? And Shannon Campbell was the stud even then, right? But it wasn't. No one was coming for one particular driver. The reality is that the drivers themselves, the following of each of them became so big that the one driver was coming with 200 people. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And which is really how it had started. Like it just really kind of
word of mouth
exponentially grew from there, because once you got to like the second or third ring out of everybody's friendship circle, right? Then it was just starting to get weird. Then it was just like, I can tell you it's the weirdest thing. Crazy story, but I'll make it really fast. In 2012, I think 2012, I went over 2011. I went over to Europe because someone said we should do this in England.
Yeah.
So we had done it in England in 2010. In 2011, I went to meet some people in Portugal, Croatia, Germany, and Morocco to see where we could race at. And I got to Croatia, ended up in a bar in the DMZ zone, like a mile from Bosnia, talking to a dude who spoke fluent English and knew every single driver in our series.
Wow.
He knew the colors of the cars. He knew everything just from YouTube, just because in his hometown was the Croatia Trophy Challenge. That's like the European, like drive underwater kind of stuff. You ever seen that kind of, like they're the guys that snorkel, like there's a snorkel and they're driving underwater, they're winching up the side of a 20-foot cliff, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's not ball. But I was there to see it. So I'm talking to the guy in this guy's hometown, like basically. And
he's like, telling you all about your race.
Well, he's like, where are you from? I'm like, California. He's like, well, if you're here to see the Trophy Challenge and you're from California, you must know about King of the Hammers. I'm like, what? It was wonky, man.
That was the moment that you knew.
That's when things. Yeah, it was weird when you talk because I've been fortunate that I've been able to literally now go off-roading pretty much everywhere on the planet, right? And everyone's the same. Like, and that's the thing. It's not just off-roading though either. It's just the reality is that when you go around the world, when you get past the whatever, do you travel a lot? You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. It's the concepts of what everybody thinks are and like what are, and then we're
all human. Yeah.
You sit down and they're like, oh no, what about this? Oh yeah, what about that? Wait, and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, wait a minute. And that same interaction happens in Colombia and it happens in Iceland and it happens in China. It happens everywhere. They just have different accents. It's literally the only difference. And then when you get into whatever that, as you get tighter into that, whatever your focus is, right, off-roading or racing, then of course the commonalities even get more extreme. But it's been a unifier thing. And yeah, that was probably the first time I was like, this is nuts.
So when did like manufacturers start seeing this as, okay, this is where we need to be? Like Fox was here testing their stuff. Ford has mentioned King of the Hammers and Bronco advertising now. Like it's becoming.
At first, the Jeep started supporting us in like 2010, but it was more of a passion project for a few people inside the thing. And then
that's kind of how they operate there. Like
yeah.
we just were at the reveal for the how many years 20th anniversary of the Rubicon, and hearing the story of the original ragtag group that
Scott Bloom and Tony Carvalho and those guys. Yep. I'm sure more. I'm not limiting it, but there was a group that was but it's a very similar story inside of Ford. There really was a Bronco underground. Yeah. There really was a group of employees that kept meeting, going, "We're going to figure out a way to get this project back going again." And then when the first real manufacturer that truly engaged was Ford in that way. They came and they straight up asked us, "How would you build a car? What would you do?" And the Bronco was built here. Yeah. They literally cut it. I woke up one morning and there's 20 cut up cars, and they had all different Frankensteins that they were going to start building from, and it was an amazing process to watch. Yeah. It was past an honor and past that it was nuts. That was pretty crazy too.
So there are two vehicles here that I kind of want to dig deep into, and the bigger one of the two is there's an electric rock crawler out here. Go into like why, when, how, what was the impetus here?
Well, I completely separate from my total geeking out on the technology of making EV work. Mm-hmm. I'm think about our culture, and this goes a whole different path, but like the concept of it's going to be illegal to have a generator in California in a year, right? Mm-hmm. That's at least what they're talking about. So you can't have a generator, and then it's going to be harder and harder to buy gas cars, and then it's going to be okay. Now I have to have an EV truck that can pull my trailer, that can take my EV toys, mm-hmm. and then I have to be able to charge. I don't need. This is dumb. Yeah. And the whole, it's like, it'd be like saying we're gonna stop having horses to equestrians. You know what I mean? It's like it's a thing. So if that's the case, and you're not going to stop that momentum in any way. You're never going to get in front of that. Mm-hmm. So we'll just join them. And that is, we need to get the technology into the hands of the builders, because I still believe that specifically Ultra 4, off-roading in general, but specifically Ultra 4 is like, it's kind of like NHRA back in the day. It's kind of like Harleys. They're building their own stuff. Like we're building our own cars. Jason Shear built that car. Yeah. Like handcrafted that car.
That's crazy.
Right? He knows where every ounce is on that car. That guy, whoa. Yeah. Being able to, I wanted to get the technology in the hands of those guys so they could build the cars. And I had the chassis. Now we'll come back to where we're at now. So there was a reason to be doing it, and that was kind of impetus. And then secondarily, I think the technology is cool. I think that when we get to like hub motors and get to true finite control of wheel speed at different corners, the things that we will be doing in a vehicle will be just as mind-numbing as it is today when we go into the stuff. It's just going to next level it. Yeah. Because I've been in some cool traction control cars, and they are better than just trying to drive around in spools. Yeah. You know, if you can keep every time that you make a chirp, that's you're losing traction. Right. You just turned that traction into sound, right? So you can get to the point of knowing, like almost like a fuse. We'll know exactly how much more torque we can give this tire before it's too much, and the driving will be nuts. That chassis specifically, what Sabine Schmidt is.
Yes.
Sabine Schmidt's driven that car.
Wow.
That chassis has been around Top Gear's test track in England. Chris Harris driving it. Wow. They came and
before converting it, or
before? Yeah. Okay. It was him. So this also converges back to the other story. One of the passion projects for a lady named Kim Gendron, and at Chrysler then Mopar, she was the one that basically made the spec. And she got Chrysler, we made a spec engine class. So we basically made 6 of those chassis, and that's how I got other people involved in the sport, because I could put them into cars that were effectively, a 700 horsepower chassis and a 300 horsepower car. It was a 5.7 Jeep Grand Cherokee out of the box. You know what I mean? They were, Will Power was using us. Remember, they were trying to turn, I'm not sure how much you're into motorsport, but they were trying to turn the, make their motor packages be available, like with an open computer. Like Chevy's computer system's easy to hack, so everybody does it. Mopars has been locked. So they were going to use us as their guinea pigs of launching that package. You get a motor and a computer, go do the things. Funny story is that they didn't set the computer right, and they put the fuel cutoff. They did not raise the fuel cutoff when they raised the spark cutoff, because it made it a race motor. So they recalibrated. It had two different speed limiters, and they shut down fuel about 50 RPM short of wide open for spark. Right? So you know what happens.
Yeah.
And we couldn't figure it out. And we raced for a year and a half, and we were a motor go, and then 2 motors were going. It's like, and then it's like, how come only the fastest guys are blowing motors? Like, only the fast guys.
Yeah.
Everybody else is fine, but a fast guy gets in the car and it blows the motor immediately. And then we figured it out. Chrysler didn't believe us, and the people that did computers, they wouldn't. They're like, it's not that.
No, couldn't be.
You need to go to dash. I think we had -6. This is a stock Jeep Cherokee motor, right? We had -6 fuel lines. They wanted us to go to -8 supply lines for the fuel. I'm like, it's like 1,400 horsepower fuel line we're talking. Like, it's the amount of.
Yeah.
We're not.
Not quite. Yeah.
But okay, here we go. We'll do it. And we changed all that stuff, and then we figured it, and we took the car out there, and we went to the engineer place, and I'm like, I'm telling you, it's exactly this. No, it's not that. I'm gonna blow this motor up right now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do this for you, and then we did. Wow.
School of Hard Knocks.
Crazy stuff. I'm sorry, that can't be used right there. But that's chassis.
Right.
So I ended up going to a 6.4 Hemi. I retired it from the spec class. It became my own personal rock crawler. It meant something to me. Jessie Combs is the fastest woman on the planet, at least technically by Guinness books. She died doing like 500 miles an hour, setting his land speed record. And she raced with us, good friend of mine. And that's why I kept the chassis. Then when I blew the motor up again in a 6.4 Hemi, I blew it up trying to drive upside down rock crawling, because that's what we do. And I was like, that's it. I'm just going to put the EV in. I'm going to come back and drive the line that I couldn't drive because I couldn't drive. I mean, I was still driving, but I blew the motor up.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go back and drive that same line with an EV car because I know I could drive upside down. And it's the only reason I started it. And then it became the spec class. I started working with Hypercraft, and we figured out that it was going to be not much more expensive to build 10 instead of building 1. So we built 10. And along the way, I just actually in the last 2 months, I've divested like all that, basically all the IP, everything that's gone into that, we are putting into a trust in a nonprofit in Texas for a gentleman that passed away last year. And he was one of the original 10 guys that were going to get motors. So now they're going to run the EV class as its own standalone foundation. So what we're doing, we're not doing swap batteries. The car can probably go about 45 miles right now at race pace. So we're going to start building courses. The first 2 of those cars will be done in February for this year's race, January for this year's race coming up, and starting in the end of next year, we'll start giving them like 30-mile races, and then just give them a shorter, easier course that's gonna still challenge the vehicle, but we'll let them go racing. And then ideally the intent is as battery technology increases and we can fit more power into a smaller place, then.
So what are the specs on it? What's battery size first?
It's 40 kilowatt hours of it's 800 nominal volts. It's like 792, something like that.
So it should charge pretty quickly.
It does charge pretty quickly. Yep. It's all liquid cooled. It can handle the both a quick charge and a quick discharge.
Mm.
We've been just getting into now to the fine tuning of the calibration, where we're getting, just there's still kind of like an overrun situation happening. Not a bad overrun, like battery overrun, but like it takes 152 foot-pounds of torque to get over this rock, right? Well, it gets to the 152, and you would normally feel it. You lift off the throttle, and with a gas motor, you're immediately chopping the throttle, but you don't. There's just an overrun kind of thing, and all of a sudden it's just a little, and you go a little farther. And in rock crawling, you don't want that. You want to be really technical. So getting that.
I was talking to Brian about that, and he said the exact same thing. Yeah. And so I noticed riding with him today, like it still has a drivetrain in it that is kind of,
it's what janky is.
Yeah.
No, so from my point of view, I literally took everything out that was gas burning and bolted in EV. No change. That is still the original axle housings.
Okay.
That's everything. It's a $5 car.
Yeah.
Right. It means a lot to me because of the history of it, but the parts in it are 15 years old, right? And we've destroyed the Atlas now twice. We've made up that adapter. The whole thing, it was meant to be a test mule to get to a calibration point where we could actually give people power. We've made sparks with it twice, so we needed to sort out those things, and I'd rather be doing it with a car that didn't matter to anybody than trying to send these things out. That would have been disastrous. So
it's got one electric motor up front.
Electric motor.
And bolted to the original.
Bolted to the Atlas transfer case, right? The transfer case is still in the exact same mounting position in the same cradle that it was when it was.
So you just kind of built the EV tech to fit.
Correct.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, and reality was it's so much smaller that everything became easy. Yeah. It's 400 pounds lighter than when it was gas.
That's crazy.
I mean, it doesn't have the range. If apples to apples, I could drive 270 miles on that's fuel consumption that I could carry. I can do 40 now, but I'm 400 pounds lighter. What's really nuts is you felt it. It's not a very, like all other cars, you felt the plushness of suspension. Yeah. I can't even so we had to build that car with bigger springs because it weighed so much back then. Now I can't get light enough springs in that size shock to even get the car to be soft. And at this point, it's just like, okay, it's just a skateboard. Yeah. Stop trying to chase that, because I'm gonna as soon as we get that done, then I'm just gonna take that drivetrain and put it into my trail bomber. Yeah. And then start really rocking on.
So what you said the impetus really was seeing the writing on the wall, seeing how California's heading and things like that. But are there added benefits other than it being lighter to you that you see? You were talking about going to hub motors in the future. Yep. This obviously is not that. This is clearly Gen Zero. But
this is just the starting point. This is seed. I do not believe I don't think that a full EV car, and this is rough to say, I don't think a full EV car is going to be able to compete for endurance off-road racing. I just don't see that viable unless they get to either significant battery improvement, like significant 10x of where we're at right now, right? A 10x battery improvement, that would do it in a heartbeat. Then people would absolutely figure it out. What I do think, though, from a technology standpoint, that is intriguing to me, just from a calibration standpoint, and starting to understand how to control that power and meld it into suspension dynamics and everything, I think the right car is a two-wheel drive gas motor hybrid with a generator coming off the T case, the front drive of the T case, and a motor or two in the front, pulling the car. But I mean, just really simple calcs. Whenever the rear end's turning faster than the car's moving, then give me more front. Yeah. And that's all you need to know. Just start there. Yeah. And your car will keep pulling until it doesn't need to pull anymore. Because once you get to doing 90 across the desert, the front's not doing anything but slowing you down. Yeah. So, to me, that's the crossover that I'm excited about. I don't think full EV is going to get, well, short, like rock crawling performance, absolutely. It'll be there now. It's better.
Right.
But I just don't see how the endurance part without the battery. It's just rough.
And like you said, once you kind of sort out that overrun issue, you think it'll be a stout rock crawler that's able to compete. Like,
so I truly believe. So we just got it back together right now. Where my mindset is at and where I believe at is, so that green car was the car that won the first King of the Hammers, right? He did it in 3 hours and 5 minutes in 2007. I know obviously know the course. The course hasn't changed. I want to drive the spec car faster than John did it in the spec car, but I want to do it in an EV car. Yeah. And I think that car can do it right now. I believe that in literally as bad as that chassis is, and as all the things with everything going bang bang, it's still a better car than that is to drive fast than right now. Yeah. And I think I can, and I think it has just enough battery to get to 28.4 miles. And to me, at that point, this works. We've cleared a hurdle. Yeah. This can certainly
proof of concept.
Now, smart people go do the things. Yeah. Go do things better than we're doing here. And that's all can everybody do in the first place, is just let other people start going.
Yeah. So. And then you've got another project car here that you took us around in first thing this morning, the Centurion. Walk me through what the hell is that thing?
In the mid '80s, you had the two-door Bronco, OJ Bronco, right? And there was Suburban was killing it, but the Suburban was more like a two-wheel drive-ish kind of thing, right? Well, they wanted to do a bigger four-door SUV for Ford. So what they did is they launched. They had a dealership cut an F-250 in half, take the chassis from the F-250, cut the cab off, put it on, and glue it. And it was the worst job. It was bad underneath. Oh man! But they put it together and they sold it from dealerships. And like the target audience was like Shaq. Like Shaq was their guy, right? And he was just 7 foot tall, getting into it, and driving his car. Yeah. That was the thing. The one that we got, this car that when it was stock, which is how I got it completely bone stock. It was an IDI diesel 7.3 on Dana 60s front and rear, leaf sprung on 35s. It was taller than it sits now. It was a little bit taller than the brown truck. Yeah. And it was a fucking shithouse, man. They took a piece of 4x8 flat steel and just laid it into the bed and tacked a few beads around the outside and called it the bed of the truck. Put carpet over it. Yeah. There was plywood in the ceiling to like make up for the body gaps and everything. There was spots where they welded, and you could see where they ran the wire about 1.5 feet and went dink, and just kept on going.
That's American ingenuity at its best.
But so there's a couple things that were going for me on this one is that when they did that, half the people got a truck with an F-250 frame, and half the people got frames of trucks that were put together that got, and you can tell in the VIN number, it's like literally half, like there's the good ones and the bad ones. Mm-hmm. And I also think that the good frames got, or the full frames got diesel. So now I have a non-smog or smog exempt diesel titled IDI diesel in California, which is not diesel anymore. I understand, which is no reason that gets burned. But
so I noticed looking up underneath it, King shocks with massive remote reservoirs. Like, you've done some serious upgrades to it over the years.
And we did it all at once. I took it, we stripped it down, and that was the truck I wanted to build. And I'm fortunate to have some friends that know really how to fabricate well, and they like the design ideas too. And it's a trophy truck essentially. Yeah. And it's just fun. It took us 4.5 years to build, and we finished it last April. And it literally on the Tuesday morning we went to dyno. We took it off dyno and we drove it to Cabo on dirt.
What did it dyno?
It's about 645 on pump gas.
Okay.
So that auto tunes from 87 to 112. It's got two different banks of O2 sensors, and it's reading and it will change the tune on the fly. Okay. So it's on pump gas. It's running on 91. Yeah, about that. Yeah. If we dumped race gas into it, it'd theoretically be a 700 or something. It was a 725 motor when it was in my race car, and it was running because that's his old race motor.
Yeah. So what kind of speeds were we doing out there this morning?
We hit 80, 85, I think.
And a freaking F-250. Like, that's,
In 2-foot whoops.
yeah. That the banked turns out there. We went out there in the Can-Am when I froze my hands, and that that was fun. Clearly, I was not going as fast as you, but that was fun just doing it in that. And so when I saw you taking the same line, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be good."
That wash scares the crap out of me because it's blind, and but
Yeah.
with nobody being out here today, it's a lot of fun. And that car balance is balanced, and you turn it so much with the throttle, like you're riding a quad. You're riding a 142-inch wheelbase quad, and it's just I want to turn to the left,
Yeah.
and you just the whole thing is just steering with the throttle.
Been doing this 18, 19 years, constantly improving, right? Always trying to
I
figure
don't know.
out
I've regressed a few times, but I'm trying. I mean, yeah, that's the idea.
what's the next big thing. I know you're working on EV tech, but
I'll tell you. We're literally doing it now. We're forming professional off-road.
yeah,
Every professional series, every professional motorsport series, which there's 6 of them, are all nonprofits, 501c6 charter-based nonprofits. And we are part of one of those, and being sanctioned by USAC, and we're going to create our own charter-based series. We're going to start aggregating our content, and stop giving it away.
yeah.
And figure out a way to turn this into a business instead of a hobby.
Yeah. And so race week
Yeah.
is coming up in a month? What are the details there?
Details for race week. Well, that's too much. There's basically 3 weekends of racing, three completely different things. We open up with bikes on the first weekend, and the second weekend we had desert trucks are here, anywhere from class 11 to trophy trucks. And then and when those guys go home, then on that Monday we spend a week doing rock stuff, and ended up with the 4,400 race, the unlimited race.
And you'll have hundreds of thousands of people in and out. And
there'll be 80,000.
80,000.
It's 80.
And
it's a real 80.
Yeah.
But it's not 100. It's just not.
And just a sea of RVs and people.
A sea of RVs. It is. What's amazing is, I mean, have you been around the off-road? I actually don't even know what group you're from, so I don't know what your perspective is.
My knowledge of off-road racing comes from Bryant Blakemore, and
okay.
I've interviewed him a couple times, and just knowing his passion and trying to start something up in Texas with Tora and Tuquachi and all that fun stuff. So that really is my background. I learned a lot from him. Year 1 interview, year 2 interview, we got a little more technical, but that's kind of where.
Right on. Well, but you get that what makes it better is the culture. It's the people.
Yeah.
It comes full circle all the way back. Whether it's Brian Blakemore in Texas, or Farmer in China, or Igor, whatever his name was in Croatia, there's some sort of bond and that pull for the common good that is it's still very, very strong in this group, and I believe that's it's why the events. But when there's all those people here, it's just a different vibe. It's not like, you go to a good party and there's 10 people, and you go to a bad party with 12 people. It's just the wrong 2 people showed up.
Right.
But there could be 1,000 people and it could be great, right? It just seems like there's not a lot of the bad apples. It kind of weeds itself out. There's a quote for you. Good roads bring bad people. Bad roads bring good people.
Very apt. So, well, thank you very much.
Cheers to you, man.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming.
Oh my goodness. Talk about just wildest dreams. That is exactly what this week's episode was. The entire experience. I am so grateful to have found myself out in Johnson Valley, a guest of Dave Cole himself, to really walk through the history of the event and some of the vehicles out there. There is absolutely more coming from me. You can actually go read some of my articles at topspeed.com, where some of my written stuff will be coming out. Again, if you're listening to this, go check out the YouTube video of this because I will put in some video excerpts from my time experiencing some of these wild and crazy vehicles out there at King of the Hammers, going up Chocolate Thunder and many of the other obstacles out there in Johnson Valley, California. That is it for me here this time. Welcome to the new year. Go check us out, gtgaragetalk.com. But as for me, until next time, bye.